Hi, I'm Jeremy Rathman. I am actually the superintendent for the wastewater system in the town of Middlebury. So that means that myself and the four-person crew oversees the wastewater plant for the town of Middlebury and also the 20 pump stations that service wastewater down to the town of Middlebury. What we are starting to find is the issue with the aging plant is the reliability of the system. A lot of the hardware that we have down at the plant now is because of its age, it is hard to get spare parts. We used up the last of our spare parts, and I went so far as to actually call the manufacturer and ask if they had a warehouse somewhere where maybe they had stuff that was still stockpiled or wasn't officially for sale, but that might be available to folks that still had this hardware and was trying to keep it running. And unfortunately, to no avail, did not. So, for instance, in something like that, we are actually going to look at what we would do with the upgrade and start upgrading some of those parts and pieces now because they have to be upgraded now. But that's one small piece, right? That's one small device and one small sensor piece of the entire plant. Now you take that and you multiply it by, the 1,000 different things that exist in that plant. And you can see very quickly the problem becomes, well, at a certain point, are we going to have a failure or a breakdown that we simply cannot get running again? And the problem with that is we are a 24/7 operation. We can't just shut down. We can't just call the state and we're going to be out of compliance for the next 2 weeks while we wait for the part to come in. It has to run, and it has to run right, and it has to meet the effluent standards. And if it doesn't, we have to take every reasonable measure we can take in order to make it do so. And so that is really a lot of what is driving this upgrade is the fact that that we have great treatment, but we're very worried about the continued sustained reliability of that treatment. Yeah. So the amount of emergencies, it's emergencies that the age of the plant causes. It's also extra work that the age of the plant causes. Good instance. I was at the plant for 2 hours yesterday with the fire department at night because we have a 25-year-old fire system and all the smoke and the heat detectors are getting old and it's time for an upgrade. And so the fire department was there. We swept the fire department was there. The fire alarm system went off. We swept every single building. There was no problem at the plant. There was no fire at the plant. It was simply old hardware that somehow got triggered and caused a call out. So we essentially did have a catastrophic situation with our main pumping station on August 3rd, 2023 with the rains. And as anybody who lives in town will remember, we got several inches of rain in a matter of a few hours. And it actually flooded our main pump station. And so our main pumping station is actually 1 story above ground and 1.5 stories underwater. And it flooded the entire thing to the finished floor ground level. And so it took us to about 4 o'clock in the morning to get that pumped out. And at that point, in that pit are 3 raw wastewater pumps that are 150 horsepower each. So quite sizable, taller than I am. And they'd all been underwater. We had an electrician come in and a plumber come in, go over the whole thing. And they basically said, we think we can get them up and running, but there's no guarantees. They've been underwater. But without those pumps running, any wastewater is going to flow into the river. And so which did happen that evening. And so you try to limit the amount that's going to happen. So we fired the pumps back up. That was on a Thursday evening. And then that Saturday morning at 4 a.m., our operator on call got called out that the pumps had actually died. And so they died. All the operators came into the plant, all of us, and we could not get them going again. Now, the reason that I say that we got very lucky that the catastrophic situation was not worse is that we were able to get a rental pump out of Boston delivered that same day that ran on diesel fuel. If that had not been available, all the wastewater would have just flowed into the river. So this plant is important because this is the only thing that stands between our wastewater and damage to the environment. So, the concern if we wait, let's say that we kick this project 5 years down the road, right? Well, then the question is, between now and then, how much money are we going to sink into this plant that's just going to be what we call sunk cost, lost money spent on equipment that has no value anymore. So stone crop going online is fantastic, because what we do actually have at the plant is we do have added capacity. So the plant as sized, and we are going to match the size of the existing plant, was based on growth projections in 2000 that the town has not met those growth projections. It doesn't mean the plant is oversized. What it means is it allowed us to pick up some larger industrial users that load us more biologically than hydraulically. The good thing about stone crop or having the capacity for future industry and everything else is that I think what people need to understand is, a town the size of Middlebury is, the way that we get costs down and the way that we are able to provide these services and continue to provide these services in the future is by encouraging that growth. Now, not uncontrolled growth, nobody's calling for that, but new developments like stone crop, new businesses going into the industrial park. All of these things help the town provide more places for people to work, provide more places for people to live, and also help drive all those rates down, because we get more and more people contributing to that same pot of money. And having a functioning wastewater system that is reliable, that we know is going to work for the next 20 years, is a great investment into the town and the town's ability to keep expanding that housing, expanding that job base, and really doing everything that Vermont needs to do to set itself up for the next 20 years. So I think what people need to understand about the bond vote is it's a very large amount of money at $50 million, but what they're showing is they're showing community support for the project. And what they need to understand is that, the town of Middlebury has always been very good about getting grant support for projects and being able to leverage these funds. And that is the plan for this project moving forward. But you can't start lining up those grants and those those monies to help support the project until you show community support. And that's what the bond vote really is. And people need to understand that they're voting as a community to support the project.